Hello, chess fans. Welcome again to our live coverage of the 2016 Tata Steel Chess Tournament. Sorry for the IP issues. Hopefully they're resolved and we're back with you. We actually were looking at the Fabiano Ding Liren game, but we'll pick up with Magnus Carlsen.
Yeah, because some
and
very
Pavel,
exciting things happen here, right?
Exactly. Very different approach than what we had expected. We were looking at Dutch stonewall type of positions. And after bishop f4, Magnus
Played c6.
played c6, and suddenly the g5 move.
Yeah, without any support with f5 or anything, just immediately g5.
Wow.
I mean, it is something we could have considered, Yasser, because knight takes e4 is actually not a move, right?
Right, it just loses a piece, in fact. Well, we get a couple of pawns.
But it's not quite good enough, right?
Yeah, now suddenly two pieces are hanging. Oops. So we would probably, well, maybe we would actually do it this way, that we would assume that this, quote, compensation is insufficient.
Not sufficient, yeah.
Right. So that did not happen. In fact, after g5, Pavel retreated his bishop e3, and then this very cagey retreat.
This
knight
is a
d6.
surprising move, right? Because
Right.
you would think that at least now he would follow up with f5 instead of this knight d6.
Right.
But he doesn't want to go for that. So.
Having taken an outpost in the middle of the board, we would have anticipated f5, and we would have been wrong. We were wrong. Knight d6, asking white, would you please commit to the move c5, which actually White's reluctant to do. After c5, knight f5. There's some issues here.
Yeah, I cannot actually remove my... I mean, what I would love to do here is bishop to d2 followed by e4, right?
Right.
And then probably queen takes e4, stabilize my d4 pawn, and we're doing good.
Right.
But looks like g4 is happening, and we're just losing our most important pawn.
Exactly.
And c5 will drop, and it's going to be very bad for White.
Yeah, almost, well, resigns would be... But after knight d6, Pavel, I would say, took up the challenge somewhat and played the move b2, b3. So he's being forced to sacrifice a pawn, but maybe it's not a pawn that you really want to grab either.
Yes. And what is interesting, of course, is that his most safe bet, in a way, was to just take on d5, right?
Yes.
But I think we will both agree that after e takes d5, now Black's position is looking pretty good. I think he has very serious chances to set up some sort of initiative on the king side. Probably he's going to go with f5 and knight f6 anyway.
Or maybe he wants to...
Or maybe he wants to bring the bishop to f5 even.
Bring the bishop to f5.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is, everything is wonderful about Black's position except for this pawn on g5,
That's true,
right?
yeah.
I mean, you put it back on g6, you have a pretty decent-looking Queen's Gambit decline. Just not sure how I would assess this position.
Actually, I like your idea of playing the bishop to f5, so maybe Black would go for something with knight b6.
Okay, knight b6, knight e5, let's say. Just put it on the board, bishop f5, let's move our queen. I'm thinking on a good day...
Yes, but after f6, do you want to go knight to d3?
Yes, I do.
You do.
Knight to d3. Yeah, I'm still a long way from getting an f3, e4. But, okay, Black has
some issues as well.
Yeah, he's taken liberties, let us say.
Yeah, it is a very interesting position. I do feel that maybe I haven't played in the best way, but that it's sort of okay for Black, but it's still you're stuck with that responsibility that you took after playing g5.
Right, but on the other hand, this is extraordinary to me that Magnus, while playing somehow non-theoretical chess, gets a position that's rich, strategically rich, where all three results are possible.
Absolutely,
I mean, and this is really a great strength. It's an extraordinary strength. A lot of White players are struggling to get play.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And Magnus somehow gets a position where, he's putting pressure as well as taking responsibility, taking risks. So this is actually a great success for him. Hence the move b3, and now the question for Magnus. I don't think Magnus is really interested in accepting this pawn.
I doubt that he is, because White is going to be able to remove his bishop and perhaps go e4. And White sometimes gives up this pawn to just get the center.
Very common in the Catalan.
Exactly.
And
without,
many variations.
Without g5 being there, right?
Right,
so,
right.
I would think that this is at least sufficient compensation for White. I would like to play this as White.
Okay.
But perhaps it's worth a pawn. I don't know.
And we have a tweet. We have hashtag Tata Steel Chess from Limpuk Erkan. That g5. Whoops, we lost it. Our hardworking production team is faster than we are.
Yeah.
So we'll bring up that tweet once more. Anytime you're ready, guys. That g5 square is responsible for all the excitement in Carlsen's last 3 games.
Now, this is a test to your memory.
Yeah, exactly. All 3 times. Okay,
against
Luke. Yeah.
There was definitely, there was the pawn move.
From Evgeny. Yesterday, the Russian champion played g5 and then came f4.
Yes.
A gf4, rook f1, and everything went for White.
And then against Luke, I think there was queen h4 check.
Yes.
And Magnus would have to go g5, and it was actually losing with queen h3. So that's actually true. That's a funny coincidence, yeah.
Very much so. And actually, we saw a couple more tweets. Maybe we'll bring them up as well. So I think we're both in agreement. It's a bad sign. Normally, you want to have opposites attracting, and the commentators, arguing over which boxer is winning.
Exactly. Yeah.
But in this case, I'm not a big fan of accepting the pawn.
I do actually like Magnus's position though, but I would probably not take on c4.
Maybe
First of all, what is knight f5, right?
Yeah, that's a very key question because we mentioned already we really don't want to move our bishop. G4 is an issue.
Yeah.
Could I make well, maybe this is a little bit too challenging.
I was actually thinking of something similar, but I just wanted to take on d5 because now f5. Yeah, I do think black will play f5 there.
Okay.
And stabilize, but I wanted to do this sort of same thing, I guess, with cd.
Okay.
And I was just wondering because, of course, I get this ugly double pawn, but I am able to play e4 right away, perhaps.
Right.
And I honestly wouldn't know how to
handle that.
Estimate this position, but it does look pretty interesting.
Yes, exactly.
Very hard to say, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's try something. If I take, knight takes. Pardon me, I assuming knight takes. Queen takes, you might have some issue.
Too, yeah. Are you planning to go with f5 perhaps even? Or?
Yeah, somehow I want my bishop on the light squares to come into the play. I think f5.
Okay, I will go rook to d1, I think.
Rook to d1, all right. Now bishop f5 runs into knight f6. And
or even knight f takes g5, I was thinking perhaps.
Ooh.
Is that a move?
Ooh, I don't know. Is it a move?
No, I'll just play knight f3 back. Or knight h3.
Yeah, okay.
It looks like a pawn.
So bishop f5, probably too soon, so knight to d5.
Probably I have to do something about e3, so queen is c1 perhaps, attacking g5.
Queen c1, picking up a tempo against the g5 pawn. Well, again, I don't want to really rush with f5. It's a weird. This is too weird. Can I just have some fun for a moment?
Oh God. Okay, this was not what I was expecting at all.
I mean, just to show I'm not afraid. I'm not backing down from a challenge.
Wow, this might be very strong. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, again, it's one of those positions where black refuses to step down. Like the challenging nature of the position. I remember some games, well, not only of Botvinnik, but Miguel Najdorf, that made very powerful impressions that the stone wall, if you give a big free hand, let's say, to the black attacker, he can really do some damage.
But that being said, yes, one last thing about that position we just saw, because I was thinking about it a little bit. I would actually probably give up the exchange because it looks so dangerous. I would probably go knight h3 here.
Knight h3.
And I'm hoping to get 2 pawns for it, to be fair.
Good point. Knight h3 getting 2 pawns. I'm not so happy about giving up the 2 pawns. Maybe I don't have time to change and retarget the pawn on g3, right? That is perhaps asking too much for the position from black side. Yeah. No, I don't like the exchange for the 2 pawns.
I'm liking it because I have all these central pawns, especially, right? The f and e.
Yeah. How silly. Okay, sorry. We're on a tangent.
Yeah, we're on a tangent.
But I mean, you don't usually see with so many defenders around White's king. You can't really imagine that this is too scary, but
it does look a little bit scary.
A little bit scary. If I ever if I ever get, for example, I'm just putting a move on the board, right? If I ever get the knight, let us say, anchored here,
Oh, yes.
then there's play. But
Mhm.
maybe there, in this position, pardon me, I just want to go back a move. There's some kind of a counter strike
Mhm.
with knight e5 to a rich position.
A
Definitely.
very rich
Yeah.
position, yeah.
I think that, by
Oh.
the way, knight f5.
So I think he was probably calculating some of the lines that we just showed.
Right.
Knowing Magnus, of course.
Yeah, knowing Magnus.
But-
One of the, I don't know, we didn't really discuss it. One of the issues, I think, with bishop h3
Mhm.
is another approach that we didn't really look at with f5. Now,
Mhm.
these pawns really do look a little bit gummied up, right?
Yeah.
Okay, after cd5.
There's always
There's,
g4 to take into account, right?
Right. And if we somehow fall back, well, now we may really regret this.
And what about that move g4, yes, instead, because this is not looking too good for
f5?
I mean, I guess I would have to go g4.
Right. And, you know, if black really gets belligerent, there's a h5
Yeah.
takes a g4.
It
It's
looks, or
there's-
even just the simple taking a knight to f6 also looks quite good. Although then g5 is hanging. Pardon me. Then g5 might be hanging. I like your move h5 actually.
well, it's something. It's something that you would have to calculate. Suddenly, it's a, well, and there's other ideas, options too, right? It's not like this is just play on one goal.
No,
I mean,
But
something happened.
that is really the reason why I thought that he should take on d5 right away and try to force knight e3. But then
Right.
again, and I actually think he's very seriously considering this now,
Mhm.
because black can't really do something else. If c takes d5, then of course knight takes d5 is the
Right.
trick.
Then we
So
just snap a pawn.
There's no way around this position after e takes d5, and then this crazy central pawn push with f takes e3 and e4 like that we just discussed is very
Right.
likely to happen. So.
Okay. So most likely we're looking at some sharp. I mean, black doesn't want to see the position opened up so quickly. When, you know, I mean, obviously white's rooks are already connected, and black has quite some maneuvering to do to connect his rooks.
Yeah.
And position opens up, better side, the better developed side is usually happy. Having said all of that, let's try one more approach.
Yes, that's
yeah?
actually perhaps a more solid way to play it as black, because we're not really allowing too much action in the center.
Right. I was thinking if I have provoked, I'm not saying I have, in case of this, I was wondering, openly wondering, can I be quite belligerent? More or less, I think you're provoked to play e4.
Yeah, I do think so, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm thinking that I may just step back for a moment. And by the way, I haven't really lost touch.
But I mean, I find it hard to believe that white is in trouble here.
No.
I mean, rook to d1, knight
Right.
to e5. Like, I like the slow play as well here for white. I still think in the long run, my position is a bit better. And yeah, that is actually a good move, because I was about to say I'm eyeing something like
knight
knight
e5,
e5, knight c4, knight e3, and slowly
Right.
but surely getting there on f5.
You
right?
mentioned a very nice maneuver, by the way.
Yeah.
If there's, thanks to the move g5, if there's a fault, drawback to the move, certainly the f5 square, and you mentioned that on a very nice day, you
I would love to get it over there.
pirouette
Yes.
with the knight to the f5 square, and life would be very good. So this move, bishop, is kind of an annoying pinning move for the moment,
Yes.
and you don't really unpin that easily
No, I
after
know.
h3.
Actually, black probably is doing all right here, because he's going to be able to develop with rook to d8, and I don't see a way for white to directly create threats against the king. So it's
Yeah.
it's a complicated position. But,
Sure, and again, that's this provocative move, g5, that is causing heightened tension in the position.
Yes,
and
yes.
Well, again, Magnus, world champion, on a roll. steamrolling his opponents, I want to say, has really created quite a fight. We left it somewhere in the game of Ding Liren versus Fabiano Caruana. We left it around these parts, and there was this capture, and suddenly it looked awesomely nice
for white,
right?
Only a few more moves left
Bishop
to be played,
f6 and knight d5, and we resign.
Yeah, or even queen d5 and knight e4 if we could. I mean, it does look very scary positionally.
I mean, positionally, yeah, you just talk about a kind of a domination. You mentioned one-piece setup, which is like a fantasy. Your queen comes to d5, your knight comes to e4, and domination of the light squares because the dark square bishop cannot fight for them. That was why we saw Ding Liren
very quickly trying to find some counterplay here.
Maintaining the knight on the board. Okay, having said that, are we up to date? No, we're not. Bishop takes, queen takes, knight d5.
Looks very logical.
And, well, this just looks very nice for white.
Yeah, I think we can already say that it's if anyone is gonna be pushing in this game, then it's gonna be white, right? This looks... In fact, I really dislike black's position.
Me too.
Yeah.
First impression is queen g4 looks like an awesome move. Not only connecting the rooks, preparing rook d1, but all kinds of... Queen takes c4 is a hellacious threat.
Yes, I'm sorry, but I can't help but think about my game against Ding Liren, where actually I remember I beat him with a knight like this on d5, playing against
the Zaitsev you mentioned.
In the Zaitsev, yeah, where this kind of structure is not that uncommon in one of the main lines. And I remember thinking to myself, well, this is looking really good, and it really went very smoothly. So I'm wondering what he's thinking right now, because of course he understands that this is a critical situation for him.
Of course.
But the way the game has developed from the opening, it looks like... I mean, he must have seen this coming, so he has to have something in mind to solve these positional problems here, or at least I'm guessing he might have to give up the c4 pawn or give up something in order to get some activity.
Yeah, well, I just see this horrible tactical variation, rook c8, defending the pawn.
I see what you're seeing.
Give me that one.
Yeah.
And okay, I'm not saying that this is a totally lost game or anything like that.
But it's lost enough.
But an exchange for only a pawn and a knight, it'd be different if maybe there was a light square bishop on e6. But this looks totally insufficient compensation to my eyes. And have we seen the move queen g4? I do believe we have.
Yeah, and rook to b5 has been played.
Rook to b5 to avoid that line that we just saw, the exchange sacrifice. Okay, so...
Well, we're grabbing that pawn, I think.
Okay, we certainly are. And a nice one at that. Okay, maybe black can make some kind of argument that these doubled f pawns, you know, are... But
I feel like I'm going to play f6 at some point.
Yeah,
perhaps even now. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a real battering ram. It's a well, f6. Unfortunately, he does have d5.
Oh, that is nice. That is a nice
that's
defense.
a very important moment.
I mean, I actually I think that this looks like a normal way for black to play. But maybe white will go b4, for example.
Exactly.
And as soon as we remove the queen, let's not forget we're threatening to trap the rook with c4, so that's something he has to take into account.
Yes, as soon as we move the queen, c4, so probably d5, right? Queen g4, e2?
E2 is attacking e5, I guess.
Okay. So I'm trying to stop c4, and my rook has at least... Well, okay, we can say there's some fighting still to be had, but we take the extra pawn.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. I do see that black has, at least he has some open files. He has several pawns. Like, for example, on the c file, he can really put some pressure if he gets a few moves to let's say, play rook c8, rook c3 would be a dream. But he's very far from equalizing, I would say, for the moment.
And again, we do have the position after the move rook b5. We're expecting queen c. I would want to get rid of that knight. I mean, that knight on d5 scares me. We maybe were a little bit fast with the move b4, but in any case, Fabiano, he hasn't had a very good go of things in the last few games. He's been under pressure. Wesley So yesterday, to mention the most recent example. He started very, very strongly, missed a clear win against Anish.
Yes.
Then he could have been cruising.
That was
at
a big game,
+3.
actually, because he was very, very much winning in that game.
Yeah.
And ever since that game, actually, he's been struggling a little bit. But at the same time, he hasn't lost some critical positions, I would say. So not too bad overall.
On the contrary, I mean, being in a tie for first.
Yes,
You know,
he consolidated those 2 wins that he managed to.
So here he's going to have the sunny side of the play. Let's continue our walk around the turn. Have you ever played Wii?
I played him 2 times.
Really?
I played him once in the Olympiads when we played against China, and I drew. And I played him once here in Wijk aan Zee last year, actually. Both times with white. Both times it was a bishop b5 check Sicilian.
Okay.
And both times I was trying to get the slight edge in a position with many pieces of the board.
Right.
And I succeeded, and he went on to draw against me very easily. So
after getting your edge, you know, like
so
you did everything right except making the victory.
Exactly, like everything went according to plan, but then he would normally start playing fast, and he would equalize one way or another. So I haven't lost to him. I have, however, played Wesley, I think 4 or 3 times, and have a terrible score against him. Probably a draw only or 2 draws. But I do have some experience playing against these players, and Wesley is definitely the more scary one for the moment to me. Yes.
Yeah. And do you see? I mean, what we has accomplished. I think it was on our first broadcast. We showed this incredible graphic of an ELO graphic of young Magnus Carlsen, and it kind of overlapped it with Wee Yee's, and it's sort of like they crisscross one another.
Yes.
It's a meteoric rise by Wee Yee. Do you see him as a future candidate, future challenger, or you don't have that feeling quite yet?
I don't have that feeling, Yasser, because what separates Magnus already at that age, I think, from other super talents, let's say, is, like you said, that very positional feel, and he's not very reliant on the computer, right? Whereas I cannot say the same for Wei Yi. I think Wei Yi is a very, very, well, almost like computerized player, very much relying on his home preparation, and I don't think he has those technical skills, for example, that Magnus already had. I think he's, how old is he now, 16, 17?
Yeah,
I
something
believe.
like that.
Obviously, he's an amazing player, but for me, there's still a lot to be proven by him before I can say that he is the new Magnus Carlsen, of course. But that being said, he's a very good player, and he's doing great. Although I must say that what is interesting is that for the first time in a long time, he came off a very poor performance in the Qatar Open.
Yes.
He lost, I think, 20 points or something like that. So
his first major setback.
But actually, I do think that it is a good thing for him that he started with a bunch of draws now, so he's sort of consolidating after that bad performance in a way, because that's not long ago.
No.
And perhaps now, I mean, I think for him, if he could finish even with 50%, but let's say a slight plus score would be a very good achievement. The first time Magnus played in the A group, I think he did horrific. He had a very hard time, as far as I remember. But don't quote me on that.
You actually have to look at the cross table as a recall.
I see. He had 4.5 out of 13.
So indeed, a
horrific performance. Yes, and for the moment, Wei Yi is seemingly doing a bit better than that. But of course, it's still a long tournament. And
well, yesterday, in fact, Oyi Fan had a clear win, I think, at a certain moment in the ending. So although Wei Yi has drawn all of his games, I don't think he's really been close to winning, and
No,
yesterday
he hasn't.
actually
He hasn't,
was
no.
actually lost. So anyway, let's just see how this game developed. We'll take it from the top. Wesley so as black. We opened e4, and we have. Well, and there was a moment of fashion where the open Sicilian totally came. There was only one player, Victor Korchnoi.
Open Spanish.
Open
Yeah,
Spanish.
yeah.
Maybe Jan Timon, but basically Victor. Then Anand was kind of like the practitioner, but not really too
Let's
many.
not forget Max Owe as well before that.
Yeah, well, it was really out of
Yeah.
fashion, yeah. And, we saw that Fabi actually got a very decent game against Anish Giri.
Very good position on the
Very
opening,
nice.
I thought. Yeah.
And now we're seeing the mainline stuff. As Anish, I believe, played Bishop E3 and was following an old game of Paul Keres,
Okay.
which wasn't very impressive preparation.
I know he won a game in the Dutch Championship last year with this Bishop
E3.
E3. Yeah.
So today we're seeing, D5, D4 at one time.
I think
was
that's what
all-
Korchnoi played, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
that was all the rage.
Mhm.
Sorry, let's just do this. So D5, D4, and I remember this atomic bomb.
Knight to
move,
G5,
Knight to
right?
G5
Yeah.
that Anatoly Karpov played, and it was a suggestion of Michael Tal.
Yeah, I
You know?
remember someone showing me this move when I think I was 10 years old or something
Yeah,
like that, and
kind
I
of
was just amazed.
Yeah.
I was like, can you really not defend at knight or not lose a piece after queen takes G5, queen F3?
Right.
And up to today, this is probably one of the most amazing opening ideas I've seen. It is such an incredibly creative idea.
And this was,
Yeah.
like, I thought, what are these guys doing? What are they? Because I did not find Bishop D5, and it was a friend of mine, I think Jim Blackwood from Seattle. I was saying, guy blundered a piece. It was a World Championship match, 1970, and very hidden
Very,
move,
yes.
very impressive. Like, you make the stutter step. You don't play. You play Bishop D5, then you
You're
take
waiting
on.
for it, yeah.
You're waiting for this knight to move so you can capture the rook. Anyway, that was really a thunderstruck. I was thunderstruck by this move D4. Bishop E7 by Wesley. Bishop C2.
Yeah, and that being said, Yasser, nowadays it's all about this line. It's all about Bishop E7, Bishop C2, D4 now, and black getting the pawn all the way to D3 and trying to
Right.
maintain it by all means. Over here, this is really the theoretical.
The cool stuff.
Yes, it's the cool stuff right now.
Right. And it does seem like after Bishop F5, right? No, or is it knight D3?
Takes and Bishop F5.
Bishop F5.
Yeah.
Yeah, otherwise there's a knight. Sorry. It's important to take the knight at this moment because the immediate Bishop F5, there's going to be an issue with knight
Knight to
D4,
D4, yeah.
right?
And then closing
The
the
connection.
defensive connection.
Yeah. Oops. So first there's a capture on B3, and then there's a Bishop F5. And if you don't get rid of this guy,
That could
you're
be
gonna
very annoying. Yeah.
stuck in the throat. Rook E1, castles. So all of this, tell me when you think
I think I've seen all of this before.
all of this before.
Being a Spanish
Was
player.
it Erwin Lamy that was also playing this?
Oh
with
yes,
black?
yes. I have had I've analyzed this before with Erwin once. The thing with the open Spanish is Yasser that it's actually so uncommon. I don't think I think I've barely played any games against it that my knowledge is always very quickly fading again because it's a lot of, at least now I know in this line it's a lot of precise moves. As you can imagine with the pawn on D3, right? It's a very concrete sort of position. Of course we have ideas of how to get rid of it, but in the end it all comes down to how can black defend. Is he in time to go C5 or can he win a pawn back on another spot like B3 perhaps? So the exact details I wouldn't know, but I know Bishop E3, Bishop D4 is one of the main ideas, and I think this is one of the moves that has been tried before. Definitely.
Right. Well, you make up a very important point. Like, to really understand the open Spanish, you've got to be willing to invest a lot of hours for both sides. But it's a big advantage to the second player if you're an open Spanish specialist.
Yes.
and you're playing, like you say, against somebody who has very rare, very limited experience, it's a heck of a surprise weapon at the elite.
And it's really
players
interesting.
and
I mean, I love
amateurs
seeing the open Spanish instead of the Berlin. Yasser.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes, exactly.
It's a fantastic opening, like most things are compared to the Berlin, of
Exactly.
course. But I'm very happy to see it back. I think, and if players are willing to invest more time into these types of systems, I think we're going to see some, more interesting, also theoretical battles again, because that sort of has been a problem in the Berlin. They're stuck in the same lines all the time, and here, like I said, you can ask me about the Berlin theory. Generally speaking,
Right.
I will remember, not because I studied it that much. I've just seen so many games by now.
Right.
But here, I'm not sure if I remember my analysis.
Very good. Well, let's see if Wesley can cause a resurrection here. So at the moment, we just pointed out that while white is welcome to capture this pawn, at the end of the line, this pawn on b3 is hanging, so black is not losing material. So white obviously wants to capture it in the nicest possible way. So if we recapture with the knight, the problem is that
I think
the
black will
bishop
just remove it and c5, right?
And at the end of this whole, there's an issue. Okay. And if somewhere along these parts, white tries to play b3, b4, maybe it can be captured.
Yeah.
So that was why he recaptured with a pawn. Now we see c5. Bishop takes. This has a flow about it. Like all the moves seem very forcing. It may be that we're still in theoretical territory.
It does ring a bell somewhat. At the same time, I don't remember wanting to play like this myself. Right.
Right. So maybe you found something you didn't quite like about
right,
it.
but actually looking at the position, I don't think black's position looks all that bad because once again, like I said before, there's always some concrete problems. Of course, now the pawn is no longer on d3, it's on d4, but the general sort of vibe around is the same because white wants to capture it very badly, but he has to consider all these other pawns that are hanging when he does take on d4. So now we have e5 and still b3.
Right.
And of course, white can claim that he can play around this pawn. He might be able to, but I do think that black should be all right if he finds the right setup for the pieces. I'm not sure how white's going to continue over here.
Right. So let's just try one line, and then I want to take a look at the challengers group because we have a big pivotal game of the two leaders.
The two leaders, yes.
Knight c6, okay, obviously there's a nice fork, but there's this rook takes, and in case you take with the queen, probably ill-advised, I might say. Queen takes b2, and suddenly black not only keeps the material equality, he grabs the initiative in a single go. So capturing the pawn. b4, this is a kind of a common thing. Throwing it out there. I'm not a big fan.
Me neither.
I just don't see any real reasons why black would be unhappy about this.
I would be happy as black here. I see in the end games I potentially have the outside pass pawn, right? The majority on the queen side. And I have a bishop, which I do like in these positions in the end games. I would say black is doing very well here.
Perfectly well. And, I blundered. Queen takes b4.
Oh my god! But
my bad. Sorry about that.
Let's remove the bishop to e7. Let's say.
Right.
Exactly. That's what. Indeed. Good that you pointed out.
But okay. There's the majority, and the worst case. I always feel like, what's the worst case? Worst case, I'm going to play 4 versus 3. I'm not going to be unhappy about trying to draw that with the pawn on e5.
With the pawn on e5, it's not a big deal.
So, we think that Wesley has a very good position. Now, let's go to our challengers. Could you bring up the challengers for a second?
And we're going to have a look.
By the way, just an extraordinary sprint that is taking place at plus 1, 2, 3, 4. Count those victories. 2 players with plus 4. Baskaran as well as Alexei Dreyev. Dreyev, as we know, rushed out, was it 4-0? He just went 4-0, and I say, look at the veteran in this tournament. You know, the veterans are tough. And then closely followed behind who I think is a very talented Azerbaijani player, Safar Lee. Have you played with Safar Lee?
I haven't played with Safar Lee, but I have played with Adiban Baskaran. I've beaten him once a few years ago.
Bravo.
But he has improved a lot since then. And I have, well, let's say little steps.
Stabilized.
But he's a very sharp, dangerous player, so he's definitely one of the players to watch in the B group. Very interesting opening ideas as well. And then we have, I mean, I wouldn't go as far as calling him a veteran, but Nisipiano is one of the older players.
Absolutely, Dieter. I would call him a veteran for sure. By the way, just looking at the cross table, we won't go through all the names, but as a visual, I mean, damn, those are a lot of decisive games. I mean, the players are really going for the jugular over here in the Tata Steel. Let's go to the game between Adiban and Alexei. We'll take it from the top.
Yeah.
And we'll... the pairings, of course, for today's round are Erwin Jordan van Forest. You see the talent, Jordan.
Jordan actually broke my record of youngest Dutch-born Grandmaster. He also got it at 16, but a couple months earlier than me. So he is now the new prodigy, I would say, right?
Okay, very good. The game we're about to view, Adiban versus Dreyev, Safarli Antipov, interesting. Poor Anna is having a horrific tournament, facing the #1 seeded player in the event.
Yes.
Nino Batsiashvili. By the way, Nino has played some good chess here. She's playing against Wen Junju from China. Sam Sevian, Benjamin Bach, interesting matchup as our prodigy, the U.S. prodigy Sam Sevian, having a rough go at the moment. Abasov Admiral, Miguel representing the local player here in the tournament. All right, let's take it from the top. Alexei Dreyev. Oh, we have a Twitter. Okay, what do we have? A tweet. The battle for the top spot in the challengers is heating up with Adi Albin's exchange sack against Dreyev. Indeed.
Well,
let's have a look.
Let's get right to it.
Let's do it, yes.
So what I saw, is that actually Dreyev always plays the...
Slav.
And specifically the semi-Slav, right? When he gets a chance. And not only that, we're seeing the Miran over here. He is kind of famous for his system after queen c2 with b6, whereas most people play the main lines with bishop d6, right? And later normally d takes c4. Now he always plays b6. He's written a book about it, or two even, and he's done well with it, obviously. And Adiban is, I think he is one of those players who can really prepare for the whole night and just look for that little idea, that sharp tactical kind of idea that he likes, and I think he managed to find something even in a line as solid as this. So let's have a look, because like I said, he's a very, very tricky opening player.
So far everything very, very standard, and essentially with this move bishop e7, black is basically challenging white. I mean, come on, your only real lever in the position is the e3 e4, and Alexei is saying, get on with it, I'm not worried. But he didn't.
No. And here, actually,
why doesn't white go for the instant expansion?
I'm thinking it's probably taking everything and playing knight f6, but I must say that I'm not the biggest expert of this line. Thinking it's.
Let's say we're going to have to read Alexei's
Alexei's book. We probably should buy the book. Yes.
We gotta buy. Anybody who wants to have that question answered, we encourage you to buy Alexei's book. That was not the plan of Adiban, b3.
I know this is the theory, because I'm thinking that probably Alexei doesn't want white to play bishop to b2, get the rooks out, and then play e4 under the best circumstances for him, right?
Right.
So
is it possible that in case of e4...
It's also possible that he maybe wants to take on c4.
That's what, I was about to ask, that in this position after e4, this a little bit counterintuitive, but...
on c5. I think this might actually be the theory, now that you mention it. Yeah.
Okay. Again, we encourage everybody to support your local grandmaster.
Yeah.
Buy their book. B3 was the main move.
Mm-hmm.
Let me actually just do it this way. B3,
Mm-hmm.
takes, D5. A little bit reminds me of the Shaq versus Anish game where Anish played E3, but
Yes.
then recaptured with the knight.
That was-
like
which was
contrary. Like,
What are you doing? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. D5. Okay, now this is the sharp stuff and fun stuff. I noticed that while Alexei really does enjoy very stable, solid positions, he's very often well prepared for the sharpest lines, right?
Right.
So, you play the black side of the Benoni against him. He plays for a very stable position, and then in those forcing lines in the Benoni,
Oh, he knows them.
then he
knows them.
really, so for sure he's going to be familiar even with this D5 move. Okay, and he accepted the challenge. It's that simple. Rook D1. I mean, obviously this guy is rather unstable here.
Right.
The problem is you don't really want to give up this bishop, I'm assuming, because maybe this is just very, very unpleasant. That
I definitely
king,
don't like it. I can't castle.
stuck in the center, right? I'm
And
not
there-
saying Queen A4 is the only move, by the way. There might be an alternative or two
Yeah.
around these parts.
Who knows? Queen E4 is also one of those moves.
Yes, that also looks like another way of just keeping Black's king in the center. And
I'm not loving Black's
grandmasters,
position.
grandmasters don't like themselves getting tied up into knots. Bishop F.
This is where the fun starts. This is where it starts.
This is
Yasser.
where this is where it starts, indeed. Okay. Whoa.
I know. This is
Okay. Now we're gonna have to start
have to
hard
do
guessing.
a little bit of calculation
Yeah.
here, perhaps.
Wow. Okay. So Bishop F6. So first point. If we, pardon me. Cancel. Okay. Bishop. What to say?
E4 over here?
Yeah, we saw this move E4. I'm assuming that, he obviously didn't like Rook B1. Why? He's castling long.
Is he?
Yeah, he's not.
No, he's not casting
Queen
long, is he?
E7,
Bishop to B5.
Bishop to B5.
Bishop E6.
Sorry, I thought that his
But yeah, I mean, he could do that, but
first. What's wrong with Rook B1? I mean, he attacked the rook. He didn't move it. We've got to. Well, he can use the square E7 for a reason, right? Can he do it in a different way? Something
Queen
of this
E7.
nature, and
oh, but yes, I'm not loving Black's position.
I'm
here.
not feeling the love either. I mean, it's quite frightening. But Ariban, and we're seeing a
And
heck of a-
Ariban played this fast, I imagine.
yeah, I think both players have done, let us say, some computer homework here. And look at what we've got. Whoa.
Bishop A3, just not allowing him to castle short.
Wait a minute. There's nobody attacking the bishop on F6. Why did Alexei feel
The need to do that.
Is he playing bishop F6, bishop E7? I'm not sure. He played bishop F6. Again, all of these moves rather quickly.
No, actually, I do think that they spent some time. So somewhere along the lines of the last 5 moves or so, I think they both, got out of their own analysis. And what do we have here?
I think it's a mess. I'm attracted to this move.
It's a very direct approach, huh?
Yes, rook takes D7.
And do you want to play queen takes d7, bishop takes f7 check, or is it knight e5 first?
Right, I'm almost like a kind of a Legal's mate
Yeah.
type of guy.
Sure.
Knight E5.
Knight E5, right, yeah.
Let's have some fun. And
I would say
not
in cases of like these, I would normally go um, with the most active move, which is Queen D4, but it might be a mate. Just I'm not sure.
Queen D4. Oh boy. Oh boy.
Oh, I'm getting into some sort of bishop takes E7, knight C6.
But you've got bishop takes oh, so you go check first, right?
Or just bishop takes F7 followed by bishop takes E7, right?
And you're
And I'm just
dead.
I'm losing my queen.
So forget the most active move.
Not working out.
Not working out. And I'm seeing a big problem here.
Queen
If you
C8,
go Queen C8 or Queen C7 for that matter, I'm seeing check, and I think I'm just picking up this. Am I
Bishop on E7, no?
picking off this guy? That's
What about
3 pieces for 2 rooks, but a bad king as well. That feels very good for.
That does feel very good for white.
So rook takes D7, king takes D7 has an issue, right? New variation. The issue is again king C8. Okay, I can pick up 3 pieces.
But I'm not as sure about this as the other position, obviously.
Right.
I would like to have
2 rooks against 3 pieces.
I'm not sure. I think I'm liking black's position over here. But also because of course the pawn structure, he has the potential queenside passer, so I might be able to even convert it into some sort of position where I give up one of the rooks
for one of the bishops, very importantly.
And I do think that this is actually very one-sided. If I do get the e4 pawn, of course.
Yes, exactly. So maybe my rook takes d7 isn't exactly a killer blow, but let's see what has happened. I'll get an update in this very, very sharp. Well, okay.
Here we are.
And he's thinking about rook takes d7. There's no question. There must be tons of alternatives, by the way.
Well, bishop takes e7 is one to begin with, of course, and then some sort of move, right?
Right. Well, again, I just feel that when Alexei Dreyev, especially his back is to the wall, let me just put it that way. First of all, he's an incredibly good defender. I mean, he has really a great feel for the initiative. But you know, if you tell me he wrote 2 books on this, I'm sure he's analyzed
seen some stuff before, right?
Exactly, exactly. Don't for a moment think, you know, like you caught him out or something. He will be well prepared for this, this exact situation. Is knight d5?
I was just thinking about something, Yasser. What?
Yes, please.
Could we do rook takes d7 again?
Right.
Because I like that move because it's so forcing, right?
Right. So we don't like queen takes d7 so much. So we.
What happens if we go with queen a4 check here?
Sure. Let me try to scare. You haven't scared me away from the queen side yet.
And I wasn't sure about this, but I was trying to get some sort of bishop a6 and knight d4 idea to work.
Right, bishop a6, the combination. So you basically want to checkmate me in a very nice way. Yes. But, and that looks really, really good. I don't have any cheap back rank issues, and for the moment, this.
But did you see bishop to f1?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. But I'm liking my position there, even if it's even if it's slowing down a little bit. I do think that I like my position.
Well, just by the fact that
I'm just g3, I guess.
Yeah.
Or I could start grabbing your pawns, but I think I will.
Yeah, just
keep you
this
tied up
very
there,
unpleasant feeling going on. Once you get your bishop on this very gorgeous long diagonal. I love that expression by Victor Korchnoi. Unpleasant sensations. Black will experience.
There are a lot of them over here.
A lot of unpleasant sensations. So an interesting try with this queen a4 check. Did I have an alternative? Maybe I have to go back to this square.
And now the question is if my knight d4, knight c6 is as dangerous. I'm thinking it's probably not, because
It
you
loses
can
a
go to
little-
e8 with the king probably.
Yeah.
And
It
yeah,
reminds
this
me of some kind of Berlin where I dance on one side,
Yeah.
then I dance on the other, right?
I'm afraid that I just don't have the
Firepower.
firepower left to do something, right?
Yeah, you burned a lot of wood,
Mhm.
actually. And very clearly, Black is dreaming of the
Yeah.
safety over there. Oops,
So
sorry.
king to d8, and this is the problem. Yeah, I don't see my
The sacrifices are beautiful, but
not working. Yeah.
maybe falling a little short.
Mhm.
So again, we'll bring us up to date, and this is where we stand.
Well, it looks like a very tough choice for Adiban. Let's not forget
Right.
he is an exchange down.
Mm-hmm.
And for the moment, I don't think we found even a way to, let's say, get an equal position.
There's been no killer tactic.
No.
That is true. And you know, this is a position that
You feel like that there
that
should
that
be
there
something,
should
right?
be something, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, I can just give this, I can picture it in my mind. You give a position like this to Michael Tal, and his eyes just like perk up.
Mhm.
He's so bored with these Queen's Indian positions,
Yeah.
like he sees the positions like this. And I mean, it's amazing how he calculated. You, like everybody, I'm assuming, including myself, of course, when I say everybody, we calculated I play here, he plays there, I play here, he plays there.
Absolutely, yeah.
Did you know that Tal didn't calculate like that? He calculated in what is called clumps. He just pictured the position, like 5 moves. He just saw
Where he wants to go.
where he wants to go,
And then he how to get there, right?
Yeah, he
Working
reversed
backwards.
engineered
Uh-huh.
to get. Oh, that's a beautiful mate. How do I get that? And it was really a
That
contrary
is
way of calculating.
I don't think I've ever used that in any of my games.
Right.
Maybe to solve a study once in a while.
Precisely.
But in a real game, I don't think I've ever applied that.
Yeah, and it was very unusual. And when I analyzed positions with him, I really had this feeling I was, okay, alien is it,
Mhm.
but somebody who's thinking very, very differently than me. I mean, it was really remarkable.
That sounds. I wouldn't know a single player who ever told me that he calculates like that.
Like,
That sounds
exactly.
very different. Yeah.
Right.
Yes, I think
Yes.
I hit on an idea.
Brilliant. Do
Knight,
it.
Knight to e5 is where we should go.
Whoa. Cool. All I can say is visually, I'm impressed. Okay. I'll fall for it.
Yes, and this is where you come in.
Yes, I'll play the foil to your genius.
Okay.
I took.
Mhm.
Now, rook takes, walks into queen takes e5.
Mhm.
So I think you wanted to keep my king stuck with knight takes d7. Was
Also,
that the idea?
like knight takes f7, rook f8 is probably just not really doing it, right? It's not really cutting it.
Somehow I would be so relieved if you take my
Yeah.
rook and let me castle or
Yeah,
something.
so I'm
That-
gonna go knight takes d7. Like you
Okay,
said.
so now I'm stuck. Okay,
Mhm.
now I've got issues. I get it. New variation. I can't castle long. Bishop a6 made on the board.
Very nice.
Castling short. Somehow the arbiter would
Probably show up one
yeah,
way or another.
illegal. Dare I suggest?
All right.
Bishop d6. I mean, again, the most honorary.
But you're asking for e5.
Yes, you know I am. I'm asking
Well, I
for
will
e-
do this
you
for
will
you.
oblige. You will oblige. Thank you. I'm
Rook takes.
well.
Or rook takes or pawn. Actually, pawn takes could be a very good move.
Precisely. I was
I am gonna go
asking.
pawn takes.
I
yes.
was asking for this because I was hoping that I would be safety in the
Mhm.
center. So, but we both mutually, our eyes warmed up. This is
This is
death.
actually
Death.
this is killing.
Yeah, this is actually killing because I can't deal with these issues.
Mhm.
Okay, so my highly provocative bishop. Let me rook d8, rook e5 check. I'm not sure. Sorry, rook d8.
Well, there were what? Ah, okay. First of all, I was gonna say I could play queen a4, but that's not gonna prevent you from castling after you take my knight, right? or is it? I can go rook takes d7 here.
Rook takes d7. Exactly.
Yes, it actually holds on to the.
Because I get killed. Rook takes d7.
Okay,
And
so for the moment, yes, I would say
yeah,
95
is a very serious move.
The ball's in black's court, right?
Mm-hmm. Knight e5. Okay, so once again, I took. Oh boy, we've got things are really heating up on some of the other boards, so we may have to.
We might have to switch.
I haven't solved the situation.
Yeah.
There's still
actually,
issues.
after I've seen this 95 move, I suddenly gonna change my mind. I think I like white again.
Okay.
But I think we'll be back at this game.
For sure.
We'll see. We'll see where it goes. But suddenly, I'm a big fan of white's position. So.
Okay, take us to the game of Magnus Carlsen because we got this production tweet that
oh my God,
Pavel has sacrificed a piece.
Okay. Yes, we left off here after knight f5 saying that, well, it's a very complicated position. I sort of like black. I think you liked white a little bit more. And what Pavel did is actually not too different from my idea with c takes d5, except that he kept the pawn on the board and just directly went with g4.
Okay, forcing the issue.
Forcing knight takes c3, right?
Okay.
And now, I guess one of the main ideas of this this g4 move was that f5 is not as good of an idea, right? Because after g takes f5,
yes, please.
Sorry, f5. We can even put it on the board.
Yes.
G takes f5. I can no longer play e takes f5 because my pawn on d5 is just hanging, right?
Clear.
And after rook takes f5, I'm guessing that he was very happy with his position after e4.
Bishop h3, e4 are both very compelling choices for white.
Perhaps even bishop h3 stronger.
Yeah.
So Magnus played this move b5.
Whoa. Okay, trying, I guess, to take the sting out of e3, e4 to. Well, you got to play e4. There's no choice. So go ahead and play e4.
Right, because if we would just take the pawn on b5, I think we're playing into black's hand here in a way, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it is a pawn, but it is not really the most urgent matter in the whole position. Black would probably be very happy to start developing some pieces here and open up some files, and we're stuck with some very strange pawns over here. So
exactly.
e4 has been played.
No question that that's the most straightforward.
And b4.
b4.
God, it's not getting any less complicated.
No. I always like that. In poker, you up the ante, right? You make a bet, you make a counter bet, and so on, and suddenly the pot right. This is a type of a game like it, a little bit like poker.
Yes.
Each move is upping the ante.
Yeah, but I feel like someone's about to go all in. Yes, because
maybe they're both all in.
What happens?
Bang.
E takes d5 is not a joke anymore. This is becoming very sharp and very
very serious.
Yeah, very serious now.
Well, I don't like capturing right away because my gut instinct is like, oh, these pawns are just. There's too many of them.
Right.
I mean, it's just going to be like Space Invaders with d5, and too many bad things are happening.
But I have a question about that
please.
for a second. It looks absolutely horrible to me.
Yes.
But I just wanted to very briefly see what happens if I try to pick up the pawn, and it's probably going to end very badly. But I'm just seeing that if you move the knight away from f3 to defend the pawn, right? The pawn on d4 is hanging with a check. So
that's right.
Maybe
for the moment. Okay, so I like what you've just pointed out. So rook comes over, knight comes up. So bam.
I'm thinking I should probably take.
Okay, so now I want to try to combine something with rook takes, but there's a check that's in the position. So I don't like what I've done. Queen e4 perhaps?
That is defending all of the
variation, and with a dream. I don't really want to go after the rook with the bishop.
No.
I want the bishop protecting my king, but going after the rook with the queen.
Honestly, because I went knight b8, my pieces are so stuck here that all I can really do is attack the queen, I think.
Yeah, okay.
And there's only one way to do that.
F5 takes. Cruising for a bruising. is an American expression. But I wanted to get the D4 part.
I know.
I don't want to play queen D5 check.
That looks a little silly, right? You're getting
Right.
blocked there.
I'm putting
Just-
the wrong pieces in the way.
Just showing
Yes,
the
please.
viewers, if you go queen d5, which looks very nice at first, because you do have this whole block of pawns over here, and we're probably going to be able to pick up this pawn at some point, that is not really at least so clear, because I will be able to at least block
Like a blockade. Yeah.
block everything, and my pieces are not doing too bad.
Mhm.
So, to say the least, it's far from clear. But what else can you do here, Yas?
Okay, well, but let's just continue the line that you were giving for a second. So go ahead and tell me how
I
well
will
you're
probably
doing.
start with knight to a6.
Well done.
Mm-hmm.
I will go knight e4, knight c4.
Okay, do you have a threat?
Not really yet, but
Mhm.
I'm on a good day.
You will go knight c4, right?
I'll go knight c4 and d6. Yes.
Okay, so let's try knight to c7, I suppose.
Right. Let me play e4.
Oh.
Just trying to get a tidal wave. You know, the whole rush.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a strange situation because
Totally.
actually you only have 2 pawns, but it feels like you have a lot more.
It feels a lot more. That's right. And maybe e4. If you told me that maybe I should pick up this pawn on c. I'm
Mhm.
noticing for the first time that I do
Yeah.
have.
Oh,
It's
oh yeah, that is actually something to be taken
uh,
into account. Yeah.
so I was just thinking that if I get some position like this, first of all, I can spear a rook. That's not completely clear, but I can also, you know,
Go for the strengthening of those pawns.
Yeah,
Right?
it's very, very sharp. Let me just double check, by the
Mhm.
way. Let me get up to date with the players. Magnus is thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Magnus is thinking.
Well, I don't think he's gonna go for this. This did not look very safe for black at all. Did it?
No. Well, again, you know, we take the point of view that Magnus wants to go +5, +6, whatever he needs to gain rating points and to win first. So he knows the limits of, you know, the risk taking.
Mm-hmm.
And b4 takes c3. That's a kind of all-in.
Right.
Imagine he just kind of says, "Okay," you
Yeah.
know, like prove.
Nice piece, sack.
And I very nice.
Under my circumstances.
Yeah. I'm going to tip my hat, but I'm also going to capture a pawn. How would this differ greatly from the lines we just looked at?
It will definitely be in black's favor, I imagine.
Shall we have a look? Take. Now you've more or less obliged to take.
Yeah,
yes?
I will take. Yeah.
Okay. Take.
No, I'm
now
actually
there's all
not-
kinds of moves,
No,
right?
I'm not obliged to do anything for the
Right,
moment.
yeah. Now there's all kinds of moves.
I mean, the first move that comes to my mind is knight to b6.
Mine too. So let's go with what feels right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the highly desirable knight e5, knight c6, we understand we lose the pawn, which we're not unhappy with. We just lose it with check.
Yeah,
that's the
problem.
unhappiness.
Yeah.
That's the unhappiness. How would you, I don't know, assess this one?
I mean,
That
initially it
somehow I
looks
don't like.
looks not too good for white, I would say. But you definitely have to defend your pawn on d4.
d4, just so that I have to make this move knight e5 possible.
But
Yeah, it's critical, yeah. But what have I
I
got
would
at
like
the
to-
moment?
I would
I've
like
only
to
got
go-
2 pawns.
yeah, I would like to go bishop a6, maybe knight d5, get some development and some tempos. You don't care about f1, do
I
you?
care.
You care.
I care. I'm crying.
But aren't you crying even more after bishop takes f1 and bishop takes g2?
Well,
Ah,
I'm taking with.
You're taking my queen on d8. That's
yes,
your idea.
with the
Mhm.
tempo. Oops.
So I should go rook takes f1 then.
That's
Mhm.
right. Okay, new main line. Oops. A recapture.
Oh.
Here's a pause because you're not obliged to
Bishop to
develop my
b7
rook.
is
Yeah, bishop
okay.
b7. You may want to investigate that one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's very attractive
My feeling says that black is doing well in all of these positions so far after knight b6. But
okay, I have to improve on Pavel's play. Takes. There's also a possibility of d5, d6, right? That, first of all, the nice part about that is like I don't have to deal with this horrifying queen takes d4.
Yeah,
having said that,
and also who knows, knight takes g5 might be more powerful at some point. But in this position, I don't like it. It's exposing my own king more than my own.
2 pieces for the rook, and you know, who knows? On a good day, this pawn might survive, right? And you're crying.
Yeah. No, it's definitely not directly
in the
right
position.
Way to go.
So again, we have been looking at takes, knight b6, and we're lacking a very good move here. By the way, especially in positions like this. This is where these are beautiful positions for chess engines. I'm really astonished at how
this is where we see how big the difference is between us and the machines.
And their ability to calculate to an extraordinary depth. These really double-edged, super sharp positions. They come up with you know, a tactical shot just
within seconds, right?
Yeah. I remember John Nunn telling me this marvelous story. It was actually horrifying for John. John had made this extraordinary combination, which, you know, just violated the rules of chess and, you know, all study-like. You know, it was one of the deepest combinations he ever calculated. And at the time he started to write his best games book, he thought to himself, well, let me put it in the chess engine just to see that I actually calculated the variations. And he had just literally put in the move when in a nanosecond came the entire combination that he had, his career achievement, you know, it was like just, you know.
How is it possible? Right?
Yeah, it's like his sharpest and best. Okay, we're going to take a break for a moment. We'll check with the...
But wrapping up about this game, just briefly. Magnus is actually thinking over here from what I've seen. Let's double check. He is still thinking here. We're expecting him to go c takes d5. And we're not quite sure how White's going to respond. C takes d5 after c takes d5 doesn't look quite as good.
Okay, I know we want to go on break, but now that I think about it, if these piece sacrifices really are not bringing home the bacon. Okay. Dutch, English expression. Dutch. Do you say bringing home?
No,
the
we
bacon?
don't say, but we know. We
know
about it. We know about the bacon.
You know all about the bacon. Maybe knight a4.
Right.
And if you maybe on a good day this night will discover a new home.
We could see some sort of very strange strategical battle come out of this.
Yeah. All right. This has been your host, Yasser Seirawan, along with Robin Van Kampen. Robin will be back in about 15 minutes as we take our break, and we hope you've been enjoying our live coverage of the 2016 Tata Steel Chess Festival, this time actually in Wijk aan Zee.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for watching and hope to see you back soon.